Hello and welcome to Chapter 30. I hope you enjoyed the break from me for Chapter 29 on the Impact Act. It's an important chapter and one that I tend to breeze over it, which is why I found the other video from the Centers for Medicaid and what is it, CMSHH? Yeah. So it's important. It's an important topic, and that's why I made you listen to, 25-ish minutes about it. So today, a couple of things, a couple of changes coming up. So if you looked in the syllabus, chapter 30 was supposed to be the last chapter, but I made a mistake in some of the dating of how the final assignment would be due, and I thought I'd be able to have you present your final assignments in the last couple of weeks. So, but then I put the due date not until April 26th, so I can't have you present your group project on April 18th if it's not due till April 26th. So we're going to go a couple more chapters in this book, but it won't be difficult. You've gotten all the main points now. So let's talk about chapter 30, though, because it's an interesting chapter, and you're going to go, this is stupid. It talks about ICD-10 implementation. So ICD, what is it? It's a classification system that we use for diseases and coding. And when this book was written, we were switching to ICD-10. Now, I can tell you, the transition from ICD-9 to ICD-10, completely done. We're done. Don't need to worry about it. Don't care anymore. So why would I spend time talking about a transition to a new coding system? And I'm not talking about like computer coding. I'm talking about like a disease has a certain number and letter sequence, that kind of stuff. Why would I be talking about that? Well, we just finished transition to ICD-10. And guess what? It's time for ICD-11. So ICD-11 was originally passed, I think, in 2018 and is supposed to go into effect January 1, 2022. So right around the corner. Will it happen? I'm going to say probably not. I'm going to say ICD-11 will happen a few years late. I say this because ICD-10 happened a few years late, and then also COVID just shut everything down. So we're going to be a few years behind. So you're going to be getting out into the workforce just as the ICD-11 transition is happening. So it's important to understand what happened with ICD-10. And then a few years after that, we're going to switch to 12 and 13 and 14 or whatever. So it's interesting. All right. So ICD-9, the U.S. have been using it. Everyone basically uses ICD-10 now, basically. No, I'm going to change that. Everyone in the Western world basically uses ICD-10 now. A lot of Asian countries don't use ICD-10, but some are. And there are some places in Central and South America that aren't using it, but it's becoming a standard. And honestly, when I say everyone uses it, it's going to get that way. It's going to get to the point where everyone is using it. So I might as well just say it now. And it's really because of reporting. COVID brought this into light. So, when we use ICD coding systems, when we use diagnostic coding systems, a lot of it is used for reporting data. So then, it's easy to comb through data for unknown respiratory illness, which is a certain code, or start looking for a rise in certain things. So if you start seeing a rise in certain codes, which is easy to search for in data, right? You can just write a script. You can do that in Excel if you had a big file and say, this block equals, this, and this, and, you can see how many it does, right? So epidemiologists really want everyone in the world to be using this so it's easier to track diseases. And COVID brought that to light. So I think more and more people will switch over to the ICD system. Not everyone likes it. There are problems with it. I have huge problems with some of the wording, honestly, because a lot of it's written originally in one language and then translated to another. And then it comes out slightly wrong or maybe politically incorrect. There are some terms in the ICD texts about certain disabilities that I think the terminology that is written in the ICD code is absolutely politically incorrect and is the wrong thing to be saying. But because it was written in another language and then transferred over or translated over, that's how it comes out. And then when you take something and use it across the world like that and you translate it into 50, 60, 100 languages, there are going to be times where it doesn't translate well. But it's the system that we have. It's the best we have so far. All right, so let's see, ICD-10. What happened, right? So we all use it. It's all getting better. Yay, yay, yay. And it was done because, well, now that we're using electronic records, and now that we're sharing electronic records due to both HIPAA and the HITECH Act, and we're having meaningful use of these things, it's easy to use a single standard, right? When it was all handwritten, it didn't really matter. Somebody had to read it anyway. Now that we can just type it in a computer, we need to be able to translate it, and we can look at big data, and we can look at it fast. You'll see, here the deadline for ICD-10 compliance was extended 2 years. I think it's going to be extended a couple years for ICD-11 as well. But just know ICD-11 supposed to go into effect in 8 months. So January 1, 2022. It's not going to happen. All right. So here's the problem. It costs a lot to transition. It costs time, training. You got to change your computer systems. Hold on. I'm going to grab my ICD-10 book. So some of you may be in coding classes, but this is an older one. It's the first one I grabbed. To take all of this, little tiny words, and to put it into and update it in a computer system takes time, takes money, and then you have to retrain coders how to do some of this stuff. So if you just learned ICD-10 in coding, that's okay. ICD-9 and 10, they work the same way, but something that's C43.5 may be different in the next book. So when we switch, people will be looking stuff up. It'll slow down the processing of claims. So it costs money and it costs time. And that's where people get hesitant to change quickly. It's just because it takes so much time to do this and to retrain. All right. So I'm not going to go over some of the benefits. You can read those in the book, but basically it was more better, right? It was more accurate and easier to use because it dove down deeper into what's going on. We're expecting ICD-11 when it comes out to be, this is big. This will probably be 2 books. It'll be Part A and Part B in ICD-11 because they're going to go down deeper and deeper into what's going on. The rest of the changes, when you read through them, just think that this is already done, but how will this impact me as I move forward as I'm trying to learn ICD-11? And here's the thing. You work in healthcare. Do you have to know this book? Do you have to know how to code? No, unless you're a coder. But I can tell you, me having at first a passing knowledge of this, because I learned coding along the way. I took coding before coding classes were a thing. I had to learn it on my own. And when we started going to meetings and talking about this, and there were people in the room talking that did this every day, and I knew a little bit about it, I knew enough about it to understand what they were saying, truly helped my career. So, coding, important because it's how we bill. And when we talk about billing and we talk about finance, how we bill is how we get paid. And when we bill right, we get paid better. So, that's all I'm going to talk about in this chapter. If you have any questions about it, please let me know. If not, I'll see you next week. Have a great day.